Thank you for watching QTV with the news. My name is Diana Sumbwe. We take a look at stories making headlines. President Edgar Lungu wants his new press aide, Isaac Chipampe, to help bring sanity in the media fraternity by countering fake news. Civil society organizations have expressed alarm at statements by government officials attacking the Financial Intelligence Center FIC following the release of the findings of its report. And the Examinations Council of Zambia has announced measures aimed at curbing examination malpractices. And our details in our news. President Edgar Lungu has appointed Ministry of Information and Broadcasting Services Director for Press and Media Development Isaac Chipampe as his new Special Assistant for Press and Public Relations, replacing Amos Chanda, who resigned last week. Mr. Chipampe previously served as Managing Director at the Zambia Daily Mail. Speaking when he swore in Mr. Chipampe at State House, President Lungu says he has no doubt that his new press aide is equal to the task ahead of him with his 24 years of professional experience in the media. President Lungu says he's also confident with his vast skills in media management. Mr. Chipampe will contribute to bringing sanity in the media fraternity by finding solutions to end what he has termed as the unbecoming trend of journalists thriving on publishing fake news, especially in the wake of social media. He says this type of journalism is retrogressive and negatively impacts the development of the country. President Lungu has encouraged Mr. Chipampe to continue exhibiting professionalism, loyalty, trust, and commitment to duty, which he says he has earned himself the promotion he deserves.
This position is a very senior and comes with immense responsibility. You should get to know that the new office is a demand of the requirement that you go an extra mile, if not all the time, including sacrificing the clients and family time to be very done. Mother is demanding, it also attracts a lot of attention. You will try to be the family and friends. At the same time, correspondingly, as you have number of friends increase, correspondingly, the number of enemies increase. But I know that with you, corresponding professional service in the media, very good as ahead of you. And also with the vast skills of media management, you want to prevent something in the fraternity, by finding solutions to anything.
And Mr. Chipampe has thanked President Lungu for the appointment, pledging his loyalty to the appointing authority. He says he will collaborate well with the Ministry of Information to ensure that correct information reaches the people.
Firstly, I want to thank the President and his entire cabinet and government for this appointment. I don't take it for granted. It's a great honor to be given this opportunity to serve. I think I also want to thank my predecessor, Mr. Amos Chanda, for what he has done in that office. Talking about thick skinned, I haven't yet gone into the office, so I can't really comment on that one. But in government, every office is a challenge, and you have to be up to the challenge. And the fact that you are given an office means the appointing authority has trust in you, and you have to serve with honor and dignity, and you have to be loyal to the appointing authority.
And society organizations, CSOs, have expressed alarm at statements being generated by government officials, including the Republican President and the Minister of Information and Broadcasting Services, against the recent Financial Intelligence Center FIC financing trends report. In a joint statement, the CSOs, among them Action Aid, Caritas Zambia, Civil Society Constitution Agenda CISCA, and Chapter 1 Foundation Limited, note that Zambia is a signatory to various international agreements on anti-money laundering and terrorist financing that require the FIC to undertake the very investigations that government is now condemning. They say Zambia can in fact be blacklisted internationally for failing to adhere to these international agreements. They have also noted with concern that the government has taken a very casual approach to corruption and public accountability in Zambia. The CSOs state that the mere fact that those persons referred to in the FIC report are politically exposed persons or PEPs seems to suggest that government views these people as untouchable because they are politically exposed. They have, however, applauded the efforts of the management and board of the FIC in continuing to perform their legally mandated duties under extreme pressure from those who do not mean well for the Zambian people. They note that the money being stolen is misappropriated by the people. Referred to in the FIC report is money that could go to the much-needed areas such as civil servant salaries, reopening the Copperbelt University, reintroducing university meal allowances, social cash transfers for the poorest and most vulnerable in society, and medicines in hospitals. The CSOs are urging the government to keep its hands off the Financial Intelligence Center and the act establishing it. They see nothing wrong with the FIC alerting the public that resources that rightfully belong to them are being looted, stating that only criminals will want such information concealed. Meanwhile, UPND Nkema Member of Parliament Kaperwa Bangweta has called on government to bring to book all those cited in the 2018 Financial Intelligence Center report as opposed to attacking its findings.
And then it's true what they have said. Why do we say it's true? Because we can see that resources now are constrained in all areas. Where is the money going? We as citizens, what we know is that we have continued to pay taxes. Even the other day when I was coming from the village, from my constituency, I still paid the toll gate. The road is still the same. This month I paid my taxes for pay as you earn. Still no paradox in the clinic in KL. The people there also, they are paying all the various taxes on the commodities they buy and the services they pay for. Is their situation improving?
But Zambian DNA spokesperson Spooky Mlemwa has praised President Lungu for demonstrated political will in fighting corruption whenever it rears its ugly head. A think tank has recommended the review of the Financial Intelligence Center Act in order to give the FIC power to prosecute and for its Director General to be reporting to Parliament. Making a presentation during a meeting held on the sidelines of the Zambia Alternative Mining Indaba under the topic The Political Economy of Illicit Financial Flows and the Nexus Between Corruption and Domestic Resource Mobilization, Africa Forum for Debt and Development AFRODAD policy researcher Rangarai Chikova says it's the only way the country will curb the scourge of illicit financial flows. Mr. Chikova is concerned with the high levels of illicit financial flows in Zambia, as reported in the FIC report and the Global Financial Integrity Report. He says Zambia's revenue loss due to illicit financial flows and corruption is still very high, signifying failure in the laws, policies, and institutions in effectively fighting the vices. Mr. Jakovia notes the need for government through the Ministry of Finance to review and renegotiate double taxation agreements to ensure they are up to date so that they do not help facilitate illicit financial flows. Mr. Jakovia has also recommended that public procurement selection must include screening of all companies supplying to government to ascertain their real beneficial owners and their connections to government to curb abuse of office.
Public procurement selection must include screening of all companies supplying to government to ascertain their real beneficial owners and their connections to government to curb abuse of authority of office and the problem of kickbacks. Then also the government through the Ministry of Finance should review and renegotiate double taxation agreements to ensure that they are up to date and are balanced and that they do not facilitate illicit financial flows. The Ministry of Finance again must review and renegotiate all tax incentives given to multinational corporations to ensure that there is no further loss of revenue through the abuse of these incentives. Then the Parliament must also review the FIC.
And making a presentation on the impact of illicit financial flows on Zambian workers, CTPD Head of Research Brian Mwenga says loss of revenue due to tax evasion and IFFs creates a hole in a nation's budget and places a burden on workers and the ordinary citizens who have to pay for it directly through tax and levies.
If you're going to lose $3 billion every year, that's so depressing. Because with $3 billion, we can do a lot of social investments. We've been complaining about how our budget is not reflective of what we need as a country. The budget towards education has gone down, the budget towards social protection has gone down, the budget towards the agriculture sector has gone down. But most of the money is being lost through some of these illicit channels. So if we are to seal the loopholes, meaning we're going to have a lot of money to spend within our economy, the government will not complain about how depressing our debt is, because we'll be able to get some money from somewhere else to reinvest in our economy. In terms of the impacts of illicit financial flows, definitely, if a country loses resources through such manners, the workers are going to be overtaxed because we have to find a way of mobilizing resources. So we have to put tax on tax to be able to raise some of the revenue that has been forgone. That's on one side. Now, these families that are being overtaxed, they have got families as well whom they're taking care of. So we find that at household level,
Energy Minister Matthew Nkoa has disclosed that the country's electricity cost of service study is almost 50% complete. Mr. Nkoa, however, states that a consultant is being procured to complete the remaining 50%. He says government anticipates that the remaining part of the study will not take more than 6 months before having the cost of service study in place. Speaking during the official opening of the 9th Zambia International Mining and Energy Conference and Exhibition ZIMIC in Lusaka, Mr. Nkoa says bidders of the consultancy work are yet to be shortlisted. Here's a report.
Almost 50% of the country's electricity cost of service study has now been completed. Minister of Energy Matthew Nkoa has confirmed the remaining work should not take more than 6 months before Zambia has its own cost of service study. It disclosed at the official opening of the 9th Zambia International Mining and Energy Conference and Exhibition, ZIMIC, in Lusaka, that a new consultant is thus being procured.
From the date of start, it shouldn't take much more than 6 months. We can have the cost of service study in place, and then you can put this matter to rest, because I know it's a very topical issue that everybody wants to have it. And as a ministry, I can assure you that we are giving it priority to make sure that it is attended to.
Mines Minister Richard Musukwa graced this year's ZIMIC on behalf of President Edgar Lungu. At this year's conference, Mr. Musukwa was a bearer of assurances from government to the mining sector.
Zambia has no plan whatsoever to nationalize the mining industry, as being postulated by many prophets of doom, both in the international and local press. What government has been doing is to ensure that mining houses, mining entities respect the law and the condition of grant for mining licenses, and that law-abiding companies have nothing to fear because they will be protected by government.
Zambia Chambers of Mines President Goodwill Mateo had earlier reminded government of the concerns the mines still have with the sector's current taxation regime.
As President of the Chamber personally, I remain quite optimistic that through dialogue we shall be able to find a balance between a tax regime that encourages investment in the sector on the one hand, and one that also ensures that the government is able to generate sufficient resources from the sector.
This year's ZIMIC runs from the 13th to the 14th of June 2019. Lazarus Sichula, QTV News.
Council of Churches in Zambia CCZ General Secretary Father Emmanuel Chikoya says the three church mother bodies are looking forward to genuine national dialogue where various stakeholders will be given a platform to interact and discuss various issues pertaining to the welfare of the country. Father Chikoya tells Q News that the church has not abandoned its plans to convene a national dialogue. He says that the three church mother bodies will continue pushing for genuine dialogue to take place. Father Canon Chikoya states that what took place at the Mulungushi International Conference Center last month was a constitutional refinement process and not national dialogue.
We need a dialogue where there'll be a wider spectrum of participants, and as far as we are concerned, I think that was properly called the constitutional refinement process. So dialogue did not take place. So we are looking forward, and we will contribute in our own way towards a situation where various stakeholders, Zambians, are given a platform to interact and to discuss various issues pertaining to the welfare of this country. We need to, of course, still deal with the wounds politically. We still need to deal with the economic issues. We still need to deal with the cultural issues and the religious issues. At the end of the day, we will hopefully begin to change the mindsets of people. We desire a change of attitudes, a change of mindsets that will then result into an economically thriving Zambia where every Zambian is free to participate. I mean, can't you just have...
Meanwhile, Father Chikoya has opposed the reintroduction of the position of Deputy Minister endorsed by the National Dialogue Forum.
I think the issues of deputy ministers, one is taken aback with all the back and forth arguments that they will have no impact on the on the finances of the country. But I fail to understand, because when I do my simple mathematics, it will have a huge dent. You are talking of personal total vehicles, you're talking of all those incentives that come with that office. And so how do you increase, when you have countries like South Africa who are better than us having a smaller cabinet, how do you increase your own cabinet to the extent that even provincial ministers will be full cabinet ministers and things like that? I think for me that is a source for very serious concern and worry, and it should not be supported by any well-meaning Zambians. You can benefit as a deputy minister at individual level, but we are looking at the Zambia we want. It is a Zambia that is efficiently managed in a very cost-effective manner. Deputy ministers are not the right way.
Police in Ndola have formally charged and arrested Chifubo Member of Parliament Frank Ngambi for assault occasioning actual bodily harm after he beat his wife following a marital dispute. Copperbelt Province Police Commissioner Charity Katanga says Mr. Ngambi has since been detained at Ndola Central Police. Ms. Katanga has told Q News that the Chifubo lawmaker is expected to appear in court soon. And Ms. Katanga says police in Chingola have detained an Indian national and a Zambian in connection with theft of 2 flash disks valued at $1,000, property of Konkola Copper Mines, KCM. Ms. Katanga states that the Indian national has been charged with theft, while the Zambian has been charged with theft by servant. She says the offense occurred on 4th June 2019 between 10:43 hours and 16:27 at KCM Smelter Control Room.
So we have the 2 in custody. One is being held for theft by servant, and the other one for theft of 2 flash disks valued at $1,000, offense which occurred on 4th June 2019 between 10:43 and 15:27 at KCM Smelter Casting Wheel Control Room. The reporter was the security manager at KCM, and 2 suspects have been apprehended, namely the Ramgulan Bund 41 of house number 23/7th Street in Changa South Township, Chingola, the hydraulic fitter, a contractor under AMSL, also an Indian by nationality, and Zimba Enyani, 32 of house number 48 Kasama Street in Changa North Township, the casting wheel control room operator who is an employee of KCM. The other one was detained yesterday, and the other one today. Investigations continue.
Information and Broadcasting Services Minister Dora Silia says that fake news, if not curbed, has the potential to negatively affect the country's economic development and the successful attainment of the Vision 2030. Speaking during a ceremony to mark the completion of the access to satellite television for 1,000 African villages in Zambia in Chongo District, Ms. Silia says Zambia should be positive and avoid spreading negative information despite the economic hardships the country is facing. She says that digital facilities are necessary for the country's economic development, but that they should be used well and benefit of the country and future generations. We have more in this report.
President Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China during the 2015 FOCAC held in Johannesburg, South Africa, announced the commencement of the 10,000 African satellite television project for 25 African countries to be completed by 2020. In Zambia, over 500 selected villages, schools, and other community centers across the country are expected to receive the village satellite television sets. Today, Information and Broadcasting Minister Dora Siliya graced the completion ceremony of the village TV project at Chainda School in Chongwe District, where she expressed concern over the increase of fake news on social media platforms.
Zambia will not be left behind in this technology breakthrough. But again, we have threats. We have threats if we are going to use this technology to polarize ourselves as a nation in terms of politics, in terms of tribalism. If we do that, we will not use this technology positively. We are going to use it to hurt the nation. And so my message to ourselves here today is that while government is making this massive investment, working with the people of China, it is important that we begin to take a moment and reflect that where will my children, your children, where will they be in 2030 with this technology? Will it have grown the country or will it have destroyed the country? Will we use it for economic growth or will we use it to destroy the economy by putting out fake news so that there is no confidence in our own country?
Star Times Vice President and Chinese Ambassador to Zambia had this to say about the project.
Here, on behalf of the Star Times Group, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the trust and support from the Zambian government, to the guidance from the Chinese Embassy and the Chinese International Development Cooperation Agency.
Zambia is the first country in Southern Africa to establish diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China.
Chieftainess Komesha Mukamambo II, who was represented by headman Chisholeka, is optimistic that the satellite television project will change the lives of people in her district.
In the I nation, we know that the quality of life has been improved in the chiefdom because we are not left behind in terms of news coverage.
Nakaonga reporting for QTV News in Chongwe.
The Examinations Council of Zambia ECZ has announced measures to curb examination leakages and other forms of malpractices. Speaking at a media briefing, ECZ Director Michael Chilala says the council has zoned the examination centers in order to enhance the security of exam papers in the provinces and districts. Mr. Chilala says a total of 1,502 schools have been identified, of which 1,009 are zonal centers, in that they have cluster schools to cater for, while 493 are standalone because of their geographical location. He says ECZ, working together with Ministry of General Education structures at the headquarters, provincial and district levels, identified centralized points where examination materials should be stored under enhanced security arrangements. Mr. Chilala says the aim is to ensure that schools receive examination papers on a daily basis from the centralized storage facility to avoid the leakage of exam papers.
With regard to the structures of papers and also the modes of assessment. And so the introduction of school-based assessment and the review of the structures of papers end up resulting in the reduction of the period, because the more papers you have, the longer the examination period. The less the papers you have, the shorter the examination period. But in everything we did, I want to underline the fact that we took care to ensure that the recognition of the qualifications we award is not affected. And so it was not done haphazardly, and as we continue to implement, we'll never do it haphazardly. We'll follow the professional requirements to ensure that we remain good standing both in the region, on the continent.
Meanwhile, Mr. Chilala has announced that the ECZ will this year begin publishing statement of results online. He says the innovation of accessing results online by candidates will help reduce on the costs which the ECZ has been incurring to purchase paper and print the results.
So at the end of the day, There's a cost related to human beings, there's a cost related to equipment, there's a cost related to materials, there's a cost related to consumables. It's a bit difficult for me to quantify exactly and say it was this much. But what I know in terms of computer paper only, and I don't want to be misquoted, computer paper only, we were spending about 4 million kwacha to buy computer paper for statements of results. That is about annual. From our budgets, we will spend there about 4 million kwacha, minus the other costs that are there. So I cannot exactly give the cost to say it used to cost this much.
Chongo District Commissioner Robster Mwanza says the district has been hit by a water crisis as a result of the rapid drying up of Chongo River, which is the only source of water in the district. Mr. Mwanza is worried that if alternative measures are not put in place to help the residents with clean and safe water, this could lead to an outbreak of waterborne diseases. Meanwhile, Mr. Mwanza has also bemoaned the increase in cases of stock theft in the district. He has since noted the need for increased security in the area to help bring the perpetrators of the stock thefts to book. The district commissioner disclosed this when Information and Broadcasting Services Minister Doris Leah paid a courtesy call on him at his office.
The unpredictable climate change has affected many farmers in most parts of the country. Many farmers have faced poor yields due to droughts and other climate-related conditions. This is why World Vision has installed 2 weather stations in Mumbwa district to help farmers with information on climate change. World Vision Zambia Mumbwa Kaindu Area Program Manager Alfred Chushi now explains.
That gives farmers credible information to ensure they make informed decisions. How does information flow to the farmer? We are working with the Ministry of Agriculture through the agricultural extension officers. So once information comes through the weather stations, this information is relayed to the farmers. So we have trained what we call lead farmers.
Some farmers in Mumbwa district are elated with this development, and this is what they had to say.
There are certain farmers who would still want to use the old method of plowing, but I think conservation farming is the best, because even when the weather is not conducive, you can still produce something.
And these other media houses, it was not all that accurate, because it's not always that we are on the radio. But for this station, which the World Vision has brought in more, it's more like it is at my farm. I'm updated each and every time. So I think we really thank the World Vision guys for what they have done.
It is evident that this development brought to Mumbwa district by World Vision will change the lives of the farmers for the better. Martha Katambi, reporting for QTV News in Mumbwa district.
World Vision Zambia has constructed 2 weather stations in Mumbwa district at a cost of 135,000 kwacha, meant to help farmers with information relating to climate change. World Vision Mumbwa Kaindu Area Program Manager Alfred Chushi says this will help farmers make informed decisions on what crops they should grow depending on the weather patterns. Mr. Chushi says the weather stations were installed after farmers in the area were finding it difficult to access weather information, thereby negatively affecting their yields. We have more in the following report. We sincerely apologize we're unable to play that report. The Foundation for Democratic Process, FODEP, has emphasized the need for political parties taking part in the forthcoming Katuba parliamentary by-election to adhere to the Electoral Code of Conduct. The Katuba seat fell vacant following the demise of UPND Member of Parliament Patricia Mashingwele. FODEP Executive Director Mwenge Chimfembe says there is need for political parties to be peaceful and non-violent once official campaigns start. Mr. Chimfembe has also advised political parties against making promises to the electorate which they cannot fulfill.
And we just want to echo an advice that it's important that they stick to the law. Over and above, it's important that they sell their manifestos in a honest manner not to overpromise things that they cannot deliver, and basically to engage the electorates in an intelligent debate, unlike involving themselves in electoral violence or intimidation of any sort. And we want to see a winner emerging victoriously, and also one who will be able to walk with their head tall, having been given the mandate without any of those electoral malpractices.
People's Alliance for Change PAC President Antford Banda says the recent decision by the Registrar of Societies to abruptly deregister some political parties is not in good faith. Mr. Banda says political parties must exist in an environment where they are not threatened with deregistration. He feels the law is not being applied in the way it should in this regard. Mr. Banda has since appealed to the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Registrar of Societies to ensure that some laws do not threaten the existence of democracy in the country.
So what will happen to the political parties? Are they going to be deregistered? You know, and the registration of a political party in this country is just 5,000. And then not putting returns in 3 months, you are supposed to pay 6,140. So we believe that, there are some errors that have happened, within, how the law is applied. And I think the Registrar of Society, Ministry of Home Affairs, they need to do something to ensure that, such issues, some laws do not threaten the existence of democracy, because, political parties must exist in an environment where they're not threatened with deregistration. In the same vein, we want to advise political parties to just make sure that they normalize the situation to avoid the PF government using those anomalies as an excuse.
Mumbwa's Mulendema Chiefdom Senior Headman Meshek Mponda has attributed the rising cases of child marriages in the area to some traditional values. Headman Mponda explains that initiation ceremonies have contributed greatly to child marriages because many young girls want to experiment what they have learned after being initiated. He explains that while traditional values are not at all that bad, there is need to be cautious in the manner they are carried out. Headman Mponda says there is need to start being considerate of the age of the young girls who go through initiation so that they don't end up being victims of child marriages. He has since thanked World Vision Zambia for the work they are doing with regards to child protection in the chiefdom and Mumbwa at large.
Now that the intervention with World Vision and other stakeholders, including traditional leaders, the prevalence now has dwindled. It is now low. I think there's something that is being done, and all in all, it's good. We are holding sensitization meetings with the local leadership, our subjects, and we have tried even to retrieve the girl children that have been married off forcefully by parents and or guardians. So far, we have 4. They're back to school. And others, I think, as I'm speaking right now, there's a certain one where we even intend to go again.
To end the news, we take a look at stories making headlines. President Edgar Lungu wants his new press aide Isaac Chipampe to help bring sanity in the media fraternity by countering fake news. Civil society organizations have expressed alarm at statements by government officials attacking the Financial Intelligence Center FIC following the release of the findings of its reports. And the Examinations Council of Zambia has announced measures aimed at curbing examination malpractices. On that note, we come to the end of the news. Thank you for watching.